What if the very thing that makes you unbreakable is the same thing that makes you unable to feel? Welcome to Mystic Clash, where ideas don't just compete, they collide. Tonight, two philosophies that could not be more opposed. On one side, the belief that suffering is fuel, that pain is a tool, that you become great by refusing to quit. On the other, the belief that all that grinding is just the ego wearing a helmet, and that real freedom means surrendering the fight entirely. David Goggins' philosophy of radical mental toughness versus Osho's philosophy of radical awareness. The question is simple. The answer might break you. Does mental toughness destroy your soul? Let's go. Disclaimer, this is a fictional AI debate inspired by the publicly known ideas and philosophies of these figures. No direct quotes are used. No real persons are being impersonated. Ideas are critiqued, not individuals. Round 1, opening statements. David, you're up.
Let me be real about something first. Osho's philosophy gets one thing right. Most people are asleep. Most people are running on autopilot. We agree on the diagnosis. Where we disagree is the cure. Osho says wake up by sitting still. I say wake up by going to war with your own weakness. You want to talk about the soul? Let me tell you what actually destroys a soul. Comfort, complacency. A man who never tests himself doesn't have a soul. He has a rental agreement with life. He's borrowing time and calling it peace. Mental toughness isn't the death of the spirit. It is the forging of it. You don't find out who you are in a garden. You find out who you are at mile 40 when your legs are screaming and your mind is begging you to stop, and you say no. That no is the most spiritual word a human being can speak. That refusal to quit is an ego. That is the soul announcing itself. Don't tell me pushing through pain kills something beautiful inside you. Pain is the beauty. It's the only honest teacher you'll ever meet.
Osho, your openings.
I will honor what is true in this man's philosophy before I dismantle it. There is something beautiful in refusing to be a coward. Goggins is correct. Most human beings are asleep, and many of them use peace as an excuse to never confront themselves. Spiritual bypassing is real. Laziness dressed in monk's robes is still laziness. But here is where the delusion begins. You say you found yourself at mile 40. I say you found your ego at mile 40 and you mistook it for God. The mind that says I will not stop is still the mind. And a mind that refuses to stop is not free, it is possessed. You are like a man who is so afraid of drowning that he never stops swimming. Even when he reaches the shore, he keeps thrashing, and he calls that thrashing strength. But the ocean is not your enemy. You are your enemy. You have declared war on yourself and called it victory. Mental toughness doesn't destroy the soul directly. It does something far more dangerous. It impersonates the soul. It gives the ego the voice of a warrior, so you never question whether the war was necessary in the first place. Stillness is not laziness. Stillness is what is left when you no longer need to prove you exist.
Round 1 goes to Osho. The distinction between finding the soul and impersonating the soul landed harder than anything said on the other side.
Round 2, cross-examination. No speeches, no poetry, you ask, they answer. David, you go first, 2 sharp questions.
Osho, yes or no? If a man is depressed, broke, out of shape, and drowning in his own excuses, should he sit in stillness and meditate, or should he get up and do something hard?
This is a trap dressed as simplicity. You are asking me to choose between 2 halves of the same truth. Yes, he should act, but why he acts matters more than that he acts. A man who runs from his depression is still depressed. He is simply depressed at a higher speed. The action must come from awareness, not from...
Hold it, he asked yes or no. Answer the question, should a broken man act or sit?
He should act, but if the action is just anesthesia, he'll need a bigger dose every time.
That's what I thought. Even sitting still doesn't save anyone. You just can't admit it without adding a footnote. Second question. Name one civilization, one empire, one revolution that was built by people practicing surrender and stillness. Just one.
Every empire built on pure force eventually collapsed on pure force. Rome, the Mongols, the British Crown. You are pointing at burning buildings and calling them architecture. But if you want your answer, India itself. Civilization that has survived 5,000 years not through conquest but through an inner resilience that your philosophy cannot even comprehend. The Ganges does not push, it flows, and it has outlasted every army that ever crossed it.
Sharp answer, moving on. Osho, your turn, 2 questions.
Goggins, when you are alone, truly alone, no challenge to conquer, no race to run, no audience to inspire, just silence in yourself, are you at peace? Yes or no?
Peace isn't the point. I'm not chasing peace. I'm chasing.
Yes or no, are you at peace in total silence? Answer it.
No, and I don't want to be. Peace is a rest stop. It's not the destination. The destination is finding out what you're capable of. That search never ends.
And there it is. You just told the whole world that you have built an empire and you cannot sit in it. You have conquered everything except the one territory that matters, your own stillness. This is not strength. This is the most elegant imprisonment I have ever seen.
That's not imprisonment. That's hunger. You wouldn't understand it because you've never been hungry for anything except the sound of your own voice.
Osho's second question.
If mental toughness is the answer, why are so many tough people broken inside? Why do soldiers come home and cannot sleep? Why do athletes retire and fall apart? If your philosophy works, why does it keep producing survivors who cannot live?
Because they stopped, that's why. They reached a finish line and thought the work was done. Mental toughness isn't a phase, it's a lifestyle. The ones who break didn't fail because they were too tough. They failed because they softened. The moment they stopped challenging themselves, the demons caught up. You don't outrun your demons by sitting down. You outrun them by never stopping.
You just described addiction and you called it a philosophy.
Round 2 goes to Osho. The admission of no peace in silence exposed a structural weakness in the toughness philosophy that was never repaired.
Round 3, rebuttals. David, you're down, come swinging.
All right, let's get something straight. I respect the words, I respect the poetry, but poetry doesn't pay rent. Poetry doesn't raise your kids. Poetry doesn't pull you out of a gutter when life breaks you in half. You want to talk about peace? My mother had peace in an abusive household. She was still, she was surrendered. And you know where that got her? Nowhere. It got her beaten and silent. I didn't read my way out of hell. I didn't meditate my way out. I clawed my way out with mental toughness, discipline, and a refusal to accept the story the world wrote for me. You call my philosophy addiction. I call yours anesthesia for people who are afraid to bleed. You sit in your garden and talk about ego, but it takes a massive ego to tell a man in pain that his fighting spirit is the problem. You know what that sounds like to someone who's drowning? It sounds like someone on the shore sipping tea and saying, "Have you tried not struggling?" I'd rather be restless and alive than peaceful and asleep.
Osho rebuttal.
Now we arrive at the truth. You did not claw your way out of pain. You converted your pain into fuel, and now you cannot live without the fire. You did not escape the abusive household. You became the abuser, only now the target is yourself. You traded one cage for another and hung a medal on the bars.
Don't you dare use my past to.
I am not using your past. You are using your past every single day. That is my entire point. You are the strongest prisoner I have ever seen, and I mean that with genuine respect. But a prisoner who can do 1,000 push-ups in his cell is still in a cell. Your mother did not suffer because she was still. She suffered because she was powerless. Stillness and powerlessness are not the same thing, and confusing them is the most dangerous mistake in your philosophy. Stillness is what a warrior chooses after the war. Your war ended years ago, but you will not put down the sword because you are terrified of who you are without it. You say, I offer anesthesia. I offer the one thing you have never tried, not another mile, not another battle, just stopping and seeing what remains. That is the courage your philosophy has no language for.
Round 3 goes to Osho. The reframe, "You became the abuser and the target is yourself," was the most disarming moment in this debate.
Final round, closings, 150 words or less. Make it land or make it forgettable. David, you first.
I'm not going to pretend the man across from me isn't smart. He is. He sees things I don't. But here's what I know that he never will. There are people watching this right now who are in the worst chapter of their lives. They're not looking for philosophy. They're looking for a rope. And I'm not talking about giving up. I'm talking about a rope to climb out. Awareness doesn't pull you out of a hole. Action does. You can understand the hole perfectly, the soil composition, the depth, the reason you fell, and you'll still be at the bottom of it. My philosophy is simple. Do the thing that scares you, do it again and again, until you're not scared anymore. That's not ego. That's not addiction. That's a human being refusing to be buried. And I will take a restless warrior over a peaceful ghost every single time.
Osho final closing.
You are right about one thing: people are in pain, real pain, and they need something real. But ask yourself this, not you the debaters, you the one watching. How many battles have you won that still didn't make you feel whole? How many miles, how many goals, how many promotions, and the emptiness was still there at 2 a.m. Mental toughness is a magnificent tool, but a tool that you cannot put down is no longer a tool. It is a master and you have become its servant. I am not asking you to be weak. I am asking you to be brave enough to stop and meet the person you've been running from, not with violence, not with force, with presence. The soul is not forged in fire. The soul is what remains when you finally let the fire go out and discover that you are still luminous. You are not your struggle, you never were.
The final winner of this mystic clash is Osho. 3 reasons. 1. David proved that toughness works, but could not answer why it never feels like enough. 2. Osho reframed the entire debate. It was never about tough versus soft. It was about whether you own your philosophy or your philosophy owns you. 3. The strongest moment was Osho admitting David's diagnosis was correct. Most people are asleep. Then arguing his cure creates a different, more decorated form of the same disease. That intellectual honesty won the room. However, and this matters, David spoke to a pain that philosophy often ignores. For someone at rock bottom, just be still can sound like cruelty. That empathy was real, and it deserves its own kind of victory. This debate is not over. It never will be.
And that is Mystic Clash. The question was whether mental toughness destroys your soul. The answer, it depends on whether you're using the toughness or the toughness is using you. Pick your side, drop it in the comments. And remember, in this arena, ideas don't just compete, they collide.